You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, an auto accident in Lawrence County takes the life of a woman from Kentucky.
It's a cold one to start, but wait until we get to the 7-day forecast because we're going to be talking about possibly breaking some Christmas highs. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Hope City Church gets into the holiday spirit of giving by helping out the Joplin Police Department. All that and more coming up. Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. 2 people are killed in 2 separate accidents in southwest Missouri. 17-year-old girl is dead following a crash just east of Neosho. According to the Missouri State Highway Patrol, she was driving westbound on Norway Road about 2 miles east of Neosho when her car left the road, struck a tree, and caught fire. Her name is not yet released. Woman from Kentucky is dead following a crash in Lawrence County. The accident happened 2 miles west of Halltown. Officials with the Missouri State Highway Patrol say 35-year-old Gianna White of Prestonburg, Kentucky, was killed when she fell from a car on I-44 and was hit by another car. She was taken to Mercy Hospital where she later died from her injuries. Missouri's treasurer is telling the state school districts his office will not refinance bond debt unless they promise not to require face masks. Scott Fitzpatrick's spokeswoman says the policy is in response to Republican Attorney General Eric Schmidt's pledge to sue schools and local health departments if they enforce COVID-19 health mandates. Treasurer's office program helps school districts get lower interest rates on bond debt. Districts risk higher rates if the superintendents do not certify that they will comply with Schmidt's demands. But a spokeswoman for St. Louis area nonprofit Education Plus says school boards, not superintendents, make decisions on coronavirus rules. Missouri School District is reiterating that kids have to wear masks on buses after a police officer confronted a driver over the policy.
Okay, I'm going to report you, okay? You're going against the law, you know that, right?
Before this encounter, Attorney General Eric Schmidt had just told schools across the state that a court ruling against health departments also applied to schools and demanded that they drop their mask mandates. The next day, this Arnold, Missouri police officer confronted the driver. He said that the AG had issued an executive order disallowing mask rules. Not only can the Missouri Attorney General not issue any executive orders, like the officer said, federal regulations require masks on buses, and many school boards maintain they can still require masks as a matter of policy, separate from the court ruling against the health departments.
While every police officer ought to know what the law is before they go about enforcing it, in some ways, I give the police officer a little bit of a pass because the Missouri Attorney General has been sowing the seeds of confusion with respect to what the law is about mask mandates and quarantines, about what local public health officials can do, about what counties and cities can order, and about what school districts can do.
Police chief in Arnold, Missouri confirms the man works in his department. The chief says the officer has children who attend school in Rockwood School District, but he does not patrol that area. EPA announces new funds going to clean up the Cherokee County, Kansas Superfund site. The recently signed bipartisan infrastructure law gives the EPA $3.5 billion to accelerate Superfund cleanup. First $1 billion is available now, and some of it will go to Cherokee County. That Superfund site covers about 115 square miles contaminated with lead and zinc from decades of mining in the area. The victims of the Edwardsville, Missouri tornado who died in an Amazon warehouse are honored with a ceremony at the Edwardsville Fire Department headquarters. Edwardsville mayor says they'll place a plaque next to a dogwood tree planted in honor of those lost. Flags were lowered to half staff in the city. OSHA is now investigating the collapse of the warehouse itself. A new sport is becoming increasingly unpopular in Russia. It's wrestling. But this is a little different. It's done inside a car. On Saturday, fans of wrestling were able to watch or take part in the car jitsu competition. It's inspired by the Brazilian martial art of jiu-jitsu. The match lasts for 2 rounds and allows each participant to fight in the passenger and driver's seat. Points are earned from opponent submission or if one person gets a superior position over the other.
What?
Okay, finally a type of wrestling where, like, possibly this, I don't know, like, I would think maybe a the smaller person might have a little advantage because they could get around in different areas. Or you could just sit on the other one.
What in the world?
Oh, is he using the seatbelt?
Well, it's like, it reminds me of the old sports adage, a fight in a phone booth.
Carjitsu. No, are you allowed to use, because if you got a buckle in the belt, that would hurt.
Usually when we use that whole phrase, fight in a phone booth, sports-wise, we do mean it figuratively.
They got the seat laid back.
What in the world are they doing? It does harken back to a certain movie by the name of Inglorious, insert here, by Quentin Tarantino. Remember when Brad Pitt is talking about where you don't get in a fight. And yeah, even Stonewall Jackson knows that you don't do jujitsu in a car. Okay.
So instead of tapping out, you just crawl out. No, I don't know.
Or you end up with a shattered windshield.
He yelled shotgun, and he's like, "No, I want shotgun."
Or maybe because you couldn't just honk the horn, because if you're in the back seat, you couldn't really get to the horn if you needed to tap out. I wonder what the rule on that is. Man, they're really pushing with the elbow.
Okay, I can't. Yeah. For those of you who are claustrophobic, I apologize that we started off your morning with that, but this will change your tune. A glorious, albeit cold morning over the 4 states, but a beautiful looking sunrise on this Monday, December the 20th. Haven't had anybody even get up to 30 degrees as of yet, so you're definitely going to want the old winter coat when you walk outside. Wow, I take that back. Chanute just hit 30, right as we were watching car jiu-jitsu. Nice thing is I know the majority of the kiddos, they are off, so we don't have to worry about them being too cold out at the bus stop. Here's another nice aspect of it all, a whole bunch of high pressure hanging over the entire Midwest. And so everything that we see down here, even with the split jet stream, not a whole lot of that Gulf moisture is going to be able to penetrate too far to the north, probably stall out there around I-40 and Fort Smith. And so despite the fact that we are below freezing, no precipitation to worry about, great travel conditions, whether it be today, whether it be all the way through Christmas weekend. Our weather trend for this Monday is going to lift us up into the high 40s, if not low 50s. And future tracks keeps, that's that precip I was talking about. That's what comes out of the south. But look, it just kind of lingers right there. They may even see some snow in kind of, I'd say, central Arkansas. I wouldn't even say northwest Arkansas. I kind of go west central Arkansas is where they may see some snow. But for us, no, it's just going to be too warm. Too warm to the point where look at Christmas Eve day, all the way up to 70 degrees. Tanya, we'll talk about some possible records coming up when I see you in a bit.
Sounds good. Up next, the Delta variant continues to fuel new COVID cases heading into Christmas. One expert issues a stark warning to the unvaccinated. And later, National Wreaths Across America Day take place over the weekend. KOAM's Bronte Soronsky tells us about the observation and how Pittsburgh marked the occasion. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. A look into why more pregnant women are using cannabis, plus who is responsible for the frequency and severity of COVID outbreaks in schools. Bradley Blackburn has a look at the day's top health stories.
A new study from Germany finds children were responsible for most COVID cases in schools and preschools, but the outbreaks were more severe when an adult was the first identified case. Researchers say wearing a mask significantly lowered secondary infections. About 40% of cancer patients and survivors take dietary supplements such as fish oil, according to a new study in the journal Cancer. Many believe the products will reduce the risk of recurrence. Guidelines for cancer prevention recommend a healthy diet and physical activity, but do not recommend dietary supplements. And researchers in Canada looked into why cannabis use seems to be increasing among pregnant women. They found women are using it to manage pregnancy-related symptoms and pre-existing conditions, such as nausea and insomnia. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
One health expert says there's a tsunami coming for unvaccinated Americans as the Delta variant fuels new cases and hospitalizations, and the Omicron variant quickly spreads, threatening to swamp hospital systems. Polo Sandoval reports.
America is on alert leading into this holiday week, facing an alarming surge of new coronavirus infections, hospitalizations, and deaths nationwide, With this new COVID upswell, holiday celebrations and everyday life are becoming more disrupted with each passing day. Saturday Night Live canceled its live studio audience last night.
We do not have an audience.
With musical guest Charlie XCX canceling her performance on the show, citing a limited crew. The Radio City Rockettes Christmas Spectacular show also canceled because of breakthrough infections within the production. And Broadway has pulled down the curtain on some shows. New York State broke the record for the highest single-day COVID-19 case count since the beginning of the pandemic for a second consecutive day on Saturday, reporting more than 21,000 positive COVID-19 cases, according to the governor's office. The NFL and NHL are postponing games as more players are asked to quarantine as part of COVID-19 protocols, and several colleges and universities shifted classes and exams online to finish out the semester. As of now, experts say the Delta variant is driving this latest surge, but Omicron is expected to become the dominant variant in the U.S. in the coming weeks.
Oh, there's a tsunami coming. This Omicron variant is extraordinarily contagious. It's as contagious as measles, and that's about the most contagious virus that we've seen. This may be the most contagious virus that civilization has faced in our lifetimes.
Both cases and hospitalizations are at levels not seen since September at the end of the summer spike. In Michigan this week, COVID hospitalizations are hovering around all-time highs. The state's health department says a majority of them are people who are unvaccinated. Dr. Anthony Fauci comparing it to a war.
We will win this war with this virus. We know what public health mitigations work. We have just got to hang in there. We can't give up.
With Christmas and New Year's Eve fast approaching, the TSA expects more than 20 million Americans to fly between December 23rd and January 3rd. There are concerns that holiday travel will supercharge the spread. If you're wondering about holiday get-togethers, this doctor has advice on what family and friends should do so they can celebrate without worries.
Get some tests for your house and use testing before you meet with other people this holiday season.
The Humane Society of Missouri is helping rescue animals displaced by recent tornadoes. Staff brought in 16 dogs from Bowling Green, Kentucky to St. Louis on Thursday. They'll be up for adoption there in the coming days. The society says it has one of the nation's largest animal rescue disaster response teams, so it is able to assist other states when needed.
You know, over the weekend, college bowl season started, and Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, they happen to be from Bowling Green, and it was, I'm going to tie this in, one of the offensive linemen was talking about when he got home, he was going to adopt a dog.
Aww.
Yeah. He said one of the things that he was talking about the community coming together, and he's like, now that we've won, I'm going to go home, I'm going to adopt a dog. I thought it's so cool of a college kid, being interviewed on live radio and whatnot, and that's where his mind was as far as getting home and helping people and helping those animals too. And just thought that was really neat over the weekend. Live look over 7th and Rangeline. We just got a great shot of the moon. If you walk outside, put a coat on. First off, no idea. Right, Dylan. Right as I was about to point to it, really. Right there. That would have been great, man, if you would have taken it out right as I did that. It's a chilly one outside, but it is absolutely gorgeous. So over 7th and Rangeline, we sit at 29 degrees. We do have a wind chill in effect. All the way down to 22 is what it feels like. These are actual temperatures. Only 130 on the board right now. That is in Chanute. Everybody else substantially below the freezing mark. 23. It's a chill down in Miami. 26 in Monette. Let's roll 27 in both Pittsburgh and Lamar. So even though the wind's coming in from the south, it puts a little bite out there, as low as 18 and 19 in Yates Center and Iola respectively. A whole bunch of 22s for our wind chills throughout southwest Missouri. No precipitation to speak of. That's a great thing, being as low as we are. And all this Gulf moisture, it will stay down to the south, really not going to hamper us. Travel conditions, if you're taking off today, and really if you're taking off through any portion of the week, are going to be absolutely pristine. Now, if you are going to go south today, say as far as south Fort Smith, you'd have to go that far south. You're going to get a little bit of this. that's going to roll up. Now, as it comes up right along the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line, if you're headed out to Tulsa, you're going to Wichita, going to KC, going to Springfield, you're going to be absolutely fine. You're actually going to have to dip down into about, say, central Arkansas to have really anything that you're going to have to pay attention to the radar for. Everything else is going to be perfect. And once we get above the freezing mark and get a whole bunch of sunshine here, we'll be up into the 50s this afternoon. It's going to be absolutely perfect. Now, overnight, we're going to dip below freezing once again, but it's dry this week. That's the great part about it. There we go. That's that little bubble talking about down by Fort Smith area, down on I-40. And you see a little bit down there by Little Rock, but at the same portion, same point in time, if you're headed anywhere else, not a care in the world, really, whether it be today or whether it be any time this week. As a matter of fact, when we get to the 7-day forecast, let's talk about this right here. Friday and Saturday, Christmas Day is going to be beautiful. Friday. Okay, Christmas Eve day, if we get up to 73 degrees, that's our magical number. If we can get to 73 at Joplin Regional Airport, we'll tie a record that dates back, a Christmas Eve day record that dates back to 1955. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Wesco Home Furnishings is proud.
Each and every year, Hope City Church in Joplin gives back to the community the Sunday before Christmas. Pick a different group to support each year, and this year, it was the Joplin Police Department.
Hundreds of people packed into the Hope City Church on the southeast side of Joplin, but not for a traditional church service. Instead, they were in service to the community.
Our goal for Local Impact Sunday has been to really bless our community in whatever way we can, and so we find a need like our officers who have been going hard and have been a little bit weary, and say, man, how can we encourage them this Christmas season? How can we bless them?
Church members got together at tables scattered throughout the lobby. There, they found a paper with instructions on it explaining what they needed to do to help. Lead Pastor Cody Walker says they put some good thought and reflection into picking the Joplin Police Department.
This year, we just started thinking, man, how could we bless someone in our community or a group of people in our community that is weary this year? And so we wanted to be able to step into that and encourage and bless them, specifically because of the work and really the hard year to 24 months it's been for them.
The groups had cards to fill out, one for every officer on the force. There were coloring sheets for the kids to color for the officers, and if there weren't any kids, the adults got to help out too. For Chief Sloan Rowland, it means a lot.
One thing you'll see in this area is the community is very supportive of their law enforcement officers and first responders as a whole. So I think it's critical when this happens that the officers get to see that. They get to see the community support at the grassroots level.
Back to the groups for a moment. When they were done making and creating at the tables, they then went to a cage and picked up a tactical backpack. That was filled with gift cards to local businesses, a water bottle, electrolytes in the form of Gatorade, and some other goodies to brighten their day. Here's Chief Sloan Rowland again on how helpful this is for the officers.
Nationwide, there's some definite challenges. We face those recruiting retention challenges. It makes it a lot easier to recruit and retain officers in a community where they know they're supported, so I think it's huge.
Those tactical backpacks are filled with the work of 1,500 people for 97 officers, packed with extra love from the community.
You know, I'm blessed daily to represent 163 people, men and women that go out every day with our jail, our dispatch, and our police officers to do a critical job in the community, and it gives me a very good feeling knowing that they're supported every time they go out and do that job.
Was our own Chris Warner on the story. Hope City Church holding 2 packing sessions, ensuring all officers on the list will be served. We'll be back with this morning's 4-State Hero right after this.
It's time to honor today's 4-State Hero, Nicholas Tallarico. Nicholas Tallarico served in the U.S. Air Force during World War II. He also served as the first commander of the ARMA American Legion. His hometown, Arma, Kansas. We're proud to salute Nicholas Tallarico, our 4-State Hero. Across the country on Saturday, volunteers hung wreaths at national cemeteries and memorials to honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice to keep our country safe. At Pittsburgh State, the ROTC is hosting their own. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky was in attendance and shares how this day of remembrance is special to veterans and service members.
Across the country, ceremonies are taking place to honor our nation's fallen veterans.
It starts on the East Coast in Arlington National Ceremony. And then after they're done laying wreaths there, it transitions across the whole United States all the way to the West Coast at national cemeteries, as well as other veterans memorials, much like this one you see behind me.
Wreaths Across America is a national occurrence with the mission to remember, honor, and teach.
It's the Christmas season, so you want to put a wreath down and and give them something special. And then it's important to recognize all those in all the services of the Department of Defense that defend this nation. It's a huge national Remembrance Day for veterans, those who couldn't be with us, to remember them during the holiday season.
At Pittsburgh State, the ROTC held their own ceremony at the university's Veterans Memorial.
We have done this event the last couple of years in partnership with the university and the ROTC program. The significance of doing it here is that this Veterans Memorial is a centerpiece on campus. It's a focal point for not only students and the university, but local veterans, people who come passing through town, or people who live local, who have served, as well as alumni of the university.
Former service members placed wreaths across all 6 military branches.
This is how we remember them, to remember everybody.
While there's Veterans Day in the fall and Memorial Day in the spring, this is a day for remembering those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country, even during the holiday season.
It's important for people to realize who has sacrificed and what they've sacrificed for us to be where we're at today. And I think it's awesome that I get to pass on to the next generation by taking part in events like this.
In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Wreaths Across America takes place every December. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we take you behind the scenes on the Unity engine that helps make video games. And Broadway is closing more shows, creating a huge blow to tourism in New York City. We'll have what the proposed solution is. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Experience what
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. The victims of the Edwardsville, Missouri tornado who died in an Amazon warehouse are honored with a ceremony at the Edwardsville Fire Department headquarters. Edwardsville mayor says they'll place a plaque next to a dogwood tree planted in honor of those lost. Flags were lowered to half-staff in the city. OSHA is now investigating the collapse of the warehouse itself. Authorities say 2 men have died in wildfires that erupted across Kansas earlier this week. Leota officials say 84-year-old rancher and farmer Richard Shemanek died at a hospital after being burned while trying to fight a fire near his home last Wednesday. And the Ellis County Sheriff's Office says the remains of 36-year-old Derek Scott Kelly were found near his burned truck. His fiancee reported him missing. They are the first confirmed fatalities from fires that erupted last Wednesday in western and central Kansas, fueled by dry conditions and powerful winds. Hundreds of thousands of acres have burned. Catalytic converters are big targets for thieves, and now Joplin police have discovered a truckload of them. Police recovered 98 catalytic converters while serving a search warrant on North Walnut in Joplin. It's part of an ongoing investigation into a rash of catalytic converter thefts around the area. These devices that reduce toxic emissions from vehicles contain precious metals and can draw big bucks for scrap. Investigators estimate this haul is worth about $60,000. They've arrested the resident, Pamela Sims. At last report, the prosecutor had not yet filed formal charges in this case. And this isn't Sims's first run-in with the law. Authorities charged Sims with receiving stolen property in September of 2020 after authorities recovered 24 catalytic converters from the same home. That case is not yet resolved. EPA announces new funds going to clean up the Cherokee County, Kansas Superfund site. The recently signed bipartisan infrastructure law gives the EPA $3.5 billion to accelerate Superfund cleanup. The first $1 billion is available now. Some of it will go to Cherokee County. That Superfund site covers about 115 square miles, contaminated with lead and zinc from decades of mining in the area. As part of the Wreaths Across America program, more than 2.4 million wreaths were placed at 3,163 participating locations across the country. One of those participating locations was the Fort Scott National Cemetery. Members of the community and folks from far away came to honor the veterans at the cemetery. Ceremony was held over the weekend, and after that, visitors took to placing wreaths on the graves of veterans.
Well, it's just like they said, if you forget your history, you'll repeat it. So it's important for them to know someone gave their, if not their life, their time to do this.
Next year's National Wreaths Across America Day will be held on Saturday, December 17th. Well, folks in Carthage were at the rodeo to spread the word of God. The Riverside Cowboy Church Ranch Rodeo hosted the second round of its winter series at the Civil War Arena in Carthage. Cowboys and cowgirls had the chance to show off their rodeo skills, and the community came out to support. It's all part of a fundraiser for the church's annual Rodeo Bible Camp.
The kids, we believe it's very important for them to have a close relationship with Christ, and so, like I said, we're just trying to get all the kids that we can at our camp and help some of the kids that can't afford it, so that's why we're out here raising money.
Church plans to continue the series with one rodeo a month until March. Humpback whales have made their way back to the coast of Mexico as tourists and locals marvel at their presence. Boats transported tourists to have a glimpse at the groups of whales who would appear briefly on the surface of the ocean. Touristic boat operator said that it is possible to see them within a nautical mile from the shore. Now, following government indications, these boats must keep a distance of between 25 to 37 miles with the whales. These animals migrate from North America towards Central America during December, reaching as far as Panama on the Pacific Ocean.
You're kind of at the mercy of the whales there as far as your distance.
Yeah.
I understand the importance of keeping your distance from them, but I think they're the ones, they are not 25 to 37 miles away. Those people right there. Well, those don't look like humpback whales either.
Those are dolphins.
That would be a pod, right? Are they called pods?
Sounds
Dolphins?
good.
I think they're called pods. The person taking that video is not 25 to 37 nautical miles away. I'm just saying.
Or they have a really good lens.
No, trust me. I've used every piece of gear in this station. Yeah. But no, very, very cool.
Maybe that's a U.S. restriction.
I had to laugh about, it's beautiful footage. I had to laugh about your very specific description of how far you are to stay away, though. I like that 25 to 37. It seemed like such an arbitrary number.
Yeah, you like 25 to 35, you know.
Right,
25 to 50.
37.
37.
Back off. 37.
Hey, I left the points off of that. No.
All right, let's say hello to the glow cloud on what is a chilly Monday morning, but eventually we're going to be talking about possible record-setting temperatures. Our daily almanac for this December the 20th would put a record high for today of 70 degrees to 1979. Now, we're going to warm up into the 50s today and actually be able to challenge a record that dates back to 1955 when we get to Friday. We're going to have to make it all the way to 73 degrees. But with that incremental warm-up that we have, yeah, there's a chance we keep on bumping up the 7-day forecast. And look at that Christmas weekend. If you have any travel plans or you're expecting friends and family, there are no concerns whatsoever. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. There's something to talk about this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So rumor has it that this movie did pretty well at the box office. Yeah, how about this? $253 million. Almost 4,500 theaters in North America alone. Final chapter in the Tom Holland-led trilogy, initially expected to gross between, say 130 to 150 million. It just demolished those estimates. Needless to say, since the pandemic began, even pre-pandemic, one of the most amazing openings that we've seen in theaters. Our question to you, since so many of the villains appear in the movie, not a spoiler alert, just know that when you go, yeah, you're going to see a number of them. We're asking who's your favorite Spider-Man villain. 34% of you right now chime in with Venom, who of course has 2 movies of its own. Each and every morning, connect to us via Facebook or go directly to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Now, as the makers of the Unreal Engine, which most games are based on, are using the new Matrix sequel to highlight a new version of the world-building tool. Iman Dignam has the story. He's in New York.
How do you design a video game? It all starts with the engine, a series of code the basics of the game are built on. And while there are competitors, there is a top dog, the Unreal Engine, owned by Epic Games, the minds behind Fortnite. Unreal has been in use since 1998, and since then it's developed thousands of video games as well as TV shows and feature films. Now there's a new version of the engine, and Epic has created a playable short game called Matrix Awakens to show it off. Matrix actors Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss lending their talents to show how cleanly and quickly it can render new graphics. Using characters like Neo and Trinity in a side-by-side, showing the original Matrix films and how the newest engine could render it. And it almost gets rid of what's called the uncanny valley, where a computer-generated face still doesn't look like a real person. The playable demo is available for free on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. And that's your insider's cheat code to the Unreal Engine. In New York, Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
Be back with some consumer news for you with the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
McDonald's ended a dispute with a minority franchise owner and agreed to a suit settlement. The fast food giant said it will pay $33.5 million to former Oakland Athletics baseball player Herb Washington. Washington owns more than a dozen McDonald's restaurants in Ohio and Pennsylvania. He said the company treated white owners more favorably and denied him an opportunity to buy more McDonald's stores in wealthier neighborhoods. Company says it is committing $250 million to support more minority-owned franchises. Federal agency in charge of coronavirus company compliance says it's holding off punishing them until next year. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration says it will not fine companies before January 10th, which are not in compliance with vaccine mandates. OSHA says it wants to give companies exhibiting good faith more time to get in line with the new regulations. U.S. Court of Appeals ruled Friday those mandates for large employers can move forward, reversing a previous court decision. Lumber prices are on the rise as homes are in high demand nationwide. The price of lumber has shot up over the last few months, with futures for January closing above $1,000. In stores nationwide, consumers are feeling that increase, with one pricing service reporting a jump of $129. This week alone, the largest on record. Experts point to inflation and severe flooding in British Columbia as culprits for these rising prices. Increased interest rates may slow the demand for homes in the U.S., which could help these prices go back down. Well, an extra Christmas present is coming for car drivers this season. Car prices nationwide continue to fall ahead of one of the busiest travel weeks of the year. AAA says that as of Thursday of last week, the national average gas price is down to $3.31 per gallon. That's an average of 2 cents from just the week before. However, with crude oil prices rising back above $70 a barrel, analysts fear those prices might start coming back up. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Appliances, furniture,
Just about 10 minutes until the 8 o'clock hour. Plan appropriately. May need to get outside and do a little windshield scraping. Carrie behind the camera does a marvelous job here in the studio pointing out. You can see the frost layering the ground outside of Television City. Still a glance at the moon as you look off to the west here over 7th and Range Line, where the chill is certainly in the air with a temperature of 29 degrees, but only feeling like 22. So go ahead and knock 6-7 degrees off what you're seeing. Chanute being our lone community that's even reached the 30-degree mark. Everybody else substantially below the magical 32-degree number, with wind chills as low as 17 in Yates Center. A whole bunch of 22s dominating southwest Missouri. Let's roll 24 is what it feels like right now in Grove. Split jet stream, but everything down here to the south with the Gulf moisture going to stall out about I-40. say in the Fort Smith area, so we have really no travel concerns unless you're going far to the south. And nice little warm up too. We'll make it up around 50 degrees later on today. A little southerly breeze is part of our warm up, but then overnight into tomorrow morning back down below freezing. But Future Track is very, very kind to us, especially if you have travel plans or if you're anticipating people coming to your home for the holidays, because it's not only today, it's all throughout the 7-day forecast. A 7-day forecast, in fact, that has a whole bunch of sunshine and temperatures all the way up to around 70 on Christmas Eve day. The magical number for Joplin Regional Airport is 73 degrees. That is a record that dates back to 1955. And Christmas Day looking delightful as well. While we certainly won't have a white Christmas, at least the kids will be able to get out and enjoy some great afternoons outside now that Christmas vacay is upon us. COVID-19 is canceling Broadway productions just when the theater industry was looking to bounce back for the holiday season. Now that in turn could deal a blow to New York City's tourism industry. Well, it was also on the rebound. David Carlin has the report from the Great White Way.
At Broadway's Hadestown, the show is not going on this weekend. COVID-caused closings throw a wrench into what were carefully mapped out plans for theater fan Shoshana Ezekiel, who is visiting from London.
And everything is closing down. So I'm turning 18 in a few weeks, so it was a very, very early birthday present to come and see a bunch of Broadway shows.
At least 7 Broadway shows shut down Saturday temporarily, and that doesn't count off-Broadway. The Radio City Rockettes will not complete this season. And Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater canceled all remaining performances as well. Jersey Boys, now off-Broadway at New World Stages, went dark less than an hour before curtain for the Saturday matinee.
All tickets are going to be refunded to you for Jersey Boys.
We went through this with the Rockettes yesterday.
Right.
We get it, but we're not going to buy tickets and keep buying tickets.
For sure.
Right.
No, that makes sense.
Frank and Carrie Howe, visiting from Denver, had to rearrange their weekend. Jersey Boys is the second show to cancel on them.
We went to the Radio City Rockettes yesterday. 11 o'clock, we sat down, they canceled it, can't catch a break. And so we understand as far as the COVID stuff, in all fairness to their customers, they should be making a little bit better of a protocol decision.
For theater goers left holding tickets to shows that are temporarily closed, finding something else to see at the last minute is frustrating.
It's disappointing, but I understand it, just for safety. We're just rocking with what we got, I guess. Just doing whatever we can.
I think this industry is helping itself tremendously in terms of how they're focused on the health care of the audience and the actors. But I do think that there could always be more money supporting this extremely expensive effort.
Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer wants more emergency government funding for the arts, knowing when Broadway hurts, tourists stay home, and the economy suffers. She thinks booster mandates are needed industry-wide.
I would suggest yes to the booster.
Leaders of the Broadway League tell us the booster discussions are ongoing.
As one response to the growing number of cases, the Public Theater in Astor Place is requiring ticket holders to do 2 things. Number 1, got to have proof of vaccination. Number 2, you have to present a negative COVID test taken within 24 hours before the show. Broadway League has set up a website called bewaytoday.com to help theater goers find up-to-date information on performances, cancellations, and what you need to do just to get in the door. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia says he cannot support his party's $2 trillion social and environmental bill. That could derail President Biden's main domestic spending plan known as Build Back Better. Manchin said he's tried everything possible but cannot get there to reach an agreement. Dr. Anthony Fauci says the Omicron COVID-19 variant is raging around the world. Tomorrow, President Biden plans to give what his press secretary, Jen Psaki, says is a stark warning what the winter will look like for unvaccinated Americans. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren both said yesterday they have tested positive for COVID. Democrats who are vaccinated with a booster shot say they are experiencing mild symptoms. Let's check in with Michael final look at your forecast.
Gorgeous, gorgeous 7-day forecast. Yeah, it's chilly right now. We haven't even got up to the freezing point. But eventually, we may get up to about 50 today. A whole bunch of sunshine and incrementally warming up all the way to the mid-50s by Wednesday. And how about challenging a record high for Christmas Eve day?
All right, zookeepers in London are busying themselves hanging stockings for Bolivian black-capped squirrel monkeys this week. It's part of the zoo's Christmas activities. This mischievous monkey troop woke to find the mini stockings strung along the branches of their home, each one filled with festive nuts as well as a colorful stocking-shaped climbing frame suspended between the two trees. How cute.
If you get bored at work today, folks, Google pole assassin monkey. You're going to, and just read the news stories. That's all you have to do. I know our producer Ron and I, it's something that whenever we have a monkey story that we always enjoy laughing about. And everybody's safe in the news story, I promise. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. Be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
We got work to do.